Well, the numbers are in for this year's tax season, and the Treasury Department coming up very short this year. A study done by the American Institute for Economic Research found the Treasury's April revenue dropped from $404 billion last year to $266 billion this year, the largest drop in over nearly 30 years. Richard Ebling is the Senior Fellow of the American Institute of Economic Research, and Roni Deutch, a tax attorney and CEO of Roni Deutch Tax Center. Good morning, guys. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Richard, let me start with you. Wow, huge fall off in tax revenues. Why did it happen, and are you surprised by some of the numbers?
Well, it's basically due to the fact that we've had such a severe downturn in the economy as a whole. Individuals have lost jobs, business revenues are down, and when there's less income being earned and less revenues in the business sector, obviously less taxes are paid to the federal government. And it's not just April, as you pointed out, which was a 35% decline compared to what the government took in April of 2008. It's way down in general. For example, in fiscal year 2008 and 2007, the federal government took in approximately $633 billion every quarter during its fiscal years. For the first quarter of 2009, it took in practically only $442 billion, or a 30% decrease on the average amount on a quarterly basis. The significance of this, of course, is that what the government doesn't take in revenue has to be made up through either borrowing or money being created by the Federal Reserve to cover the government's growing expenditures.
It's hard to digest, given especially all the programs, Roni, that we are talking about. But one of the biggest issues has to be the loss of jobs, particularly the loss of financial jobs. What does that do to the IRS?
Yeah, first of all, Alexis, wonderful to speak with you. When you and I step back and look at the severity of this issue, not only are we losing jobs, but as Richard pointed out, the government's going to have to raise money somewhere. So you and I know, Alexis, we've been talking about this for a long time. We are going to see a significant increase in taxes at a time when we are downsizing and losing incredible jobs. So when you and I step back and say, how is this going to affect us, the taxpayer, we again are going to bear this burden. It's not just bailing out. Now President Obama is going to stand up and say, hey, look at the numbers. These numbers are pathetic, which means I'm going to be able to raise taxes across the board. What about the states? As you pointed out earlier, California's got, what, a $22 billion deficit? All the other states are at $100 billion. They're already raising taxes, and not just personal income taxes, Alexis. We're talking, what, gasoline taxes, sales taxes. So really, we're going to lose jobs, we're going to lose revenue, and it's going to be awful for you and I, the taxpayer.
You know, I mean, Richard, Roni raises such an important point here. We were talking earlier about how many states in this union are right now facing basically a statewide budget gap. I mean, the last statistics back in February said that 7 states at that time were in the green. I don't know, since February a lot has happened, so I would assume that it's getting progressively worse. What does this do to all these government spending programs? What does this do to the rating of our debt? Because part of the massive shortfall here is corporate taxes.
Well, the fact is as was shown just recently, when Obama suggested these token cuts, every congressman and senator said, yes, cuts are important, but not in my jurisdiction, my district, my constituents. So the fact no cuts are going to occur. Taxes will be raised, but I think the additional danger is the fact that there's going to be this huge deficit. The deficit this year is equal to 2/3 of all that the government spent in the last fiscal year under Bush. The result is that the government is going to have to offer rising interest rates to attract private or foreign borrowers to lend it the money, or it will have to go to the Federal Reserve and ask Ben Bernanke to start churning the hand of the printing press to create the money to cover this government spending. So besides taxes, we're facing possibly rising interest rates and even significant price inflation looking down the road. That doesn't help the investment or employment picture either.
Roni, you know how they can do this, how they can collect the funds that they're losing. Talk to me about the specific type taxes that are most likely that we will see rise as a result of these shortfalls.
You and I know that we are going to see individual income tax rise. We're going to see corporate tax rise. We're going to see interest and dividend tax rise. We're going to see every tax across the board rise. But I want to get back to your great point, Alexis. Collection activity. Remember, I'm in the trenches every day. Here's what I'm seeing. Increase in bank levies, increase in tax liens, increase in wage garnishments. Do you realize that UBS open the door to so many tax loopholes that we are going to slam? So we are going to see increased collection activity, audit. Who wants to talk about audit so early in the morning? But we know, Alexis, they're going to go after increased collection activity, which is not only international, it's here in the United States, and raise taxes 100% across the board. He is not going to be able to keep his promise to keep taxes down for people making less than $200,000.
So let me ask you a question, because I think the question viewers at home are asking is, how many people this year realistically filed on time, and therefore is the April number, or at least the numbers that we have right now, representative of the real tax revenue that the government is going to get? Or did, most people postpone? I mean, we postpone.
Yes, numbers don't lie. Do you realize that over 10 million people failed to file on April 15th? But we also have to talk about the people that are missing, those tax gap people, Alexis. Remember them? They're not even in the system, and they're not paying taxes. So I have bad news. The IRS is a business, and their numbers are drastically down. And the 10 million people that filed between now and October 15th, let's hope they file. I don't think we're going to see that much of a significant increase in revenue that's going to do anything to help us. We've got to decrease spending. The wealthy cannot bear the burden on a federal level and on a state level. It is absolutely unfair.
Richard, just about 15 seconds to go here. When will we actually see the numbers rise?
I'm not optimistic, other than the false rising of rising inflation that artificially pushes people's incomes up because the Federal Reserve is printing a lot of money.
All right. Unbelievable statistics. Richard and Ronnie, terrific having the two of you here. It was a real gut check, but it's the way things are going. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Alexis.
All right. Well,